Good morning, good afternoon, good night, greetings and welcome to In Depth. I'm Dike, that's DK or DK Rostant, and we're looking forward to this conversation with Executive Officer at the Caribbean Sign Language Center, Nicole Paul, and founder/CEO and Executive Director of WeCare Deaf Support Network, Qushiba Le Fleur. And the ladies are joining us to discuss deafness, sign language, and ways that the deaf community can be supported, included, and armed with capacity building tools. Thank you very much, ladies. I think that's about exhausted my grasp of sign language, apart from my surname, and thank you. But thank you very much for your time. And let's start with this, please, Ms. Paul, in terms of define deaf community, because I think what actually is may not be what we necessarily think about.
Okay, I want to say thank you so much. Dike, he spelled it. That was a wonderful job. That's how you change sign language. Okay, I want to say good morning, like you did, to Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad, the land of the steel pan, and Tobago. We're talking about deaf community. We're talking about the fact that everyone who can sign, everyone who is deeply interested and invested, we say you belong to the deaf community. Typically, here in Trinidad and Tobago, that community would include persons who are teachers of the deaf, people who are sign language interpreters, people like you, DK, who are interested enough to learn sign language and to try to communicate, people like Qushiba, who is head of WeCare, Deaf Support Network. All of us who love and support the deaf, we are part and parcel of the deaf community.
And with that in mind, let's bring you in, please, Qushiba. What should we know about sign language and the utility of learning, even if members are hearing or persons are hearing?
I think one of the things that we must always remember is that it's a language, because a lot of people think sign language is just we throwing our hands around or something like that, but it's a real language. There are all the nuances that other languages have in it. And once you're about to learn, you have to have an open mind as well for it, because most people also approach it from a point of view of learning another language, which is spoken language or our spoken languages. And sign language is visual. So you have to have an open mind when you come to learn sign language to understand, okay, I have to take everything else that I know in my head out of learning languages because they're all spoken, and now focus on just being more observant and visual.
And speak a little more to that nuance, please, because in the same way there would be differences, and I'd said, okay, this person is a little more from East Trinidad, this person is a little more from South, listening to the way that they upflect when they finish a sentence. What are some of those nuances that we can look at? And I throw it out to both of you ladies.
I would say it's the same just as spoken English. Just as you were explaining, people from South may speak different from people from the North. Nicole and I would sit here and have a conversation with you and say the same thing, but we would say it differently because my tone of voice might be different or the way I express it may be different. Sign language has the same kind of, what's the right word? The same thing in it. So people sign differently. Some of them, just like North persons, sign differently from persons in South. People in other countries, it doesn't have one standard sign language across the world. Every country has its own unique sign language as well, because every country has a different language. So there are those little dynamics in sign language that people take for granted and think it's one standard thing, and we all could sign the same way. We don't sign the same way. Absolutely certain Nicole and I would not sign the same things the same way.
It has to be understood that sign language is a language in full flow. It is different because it's the only 3D language. You put things in place in sign language. It's visual. It's not about using the ear. It's about using eyes, the focus. And what happens is that people who sign have to be aware of that. The amount of information that you're carrying, that you would carry in English using words, some of it is manual. You have to carry using expression. You have to carry it using your gestures of your hands, how you move, the dimensions. And for example, I'll give you an example. If I wanted to talk about how your tie is blue as compared to how your shirt is blue, your tie would be blue, 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 very blue, and your shirt just blue. You understand? Sign language is wonderful.
But and also wonderful is the work that you both are doing. We have about 3 minutes. Give us an idea, a little overview of the companies, please, in terms of Caribbean Sign Language Center and WeCare Deaf Support Network. So I don't know who's going to start. I see you watching. I see, no, being sure enough teachers, the person who watched the teacher like they didn't really want to answer, well, that's who going first. So thank you.
So our organization was designed to support parents of deaf and hard of hearing children. It started a very long time ago. I think it was 2013 or somewhere there when I registered WeCare Deaf Support Network. And we strayed from our mandate for many years, just focusing on supporting deaf persons. In 2022, just after COVID, we started to realign the organization for its purpose because there are still parents of deaf children, and sometimes you're not too sure what to do or where you can get support. So in September of this year, we're going to relaunch the organization specifically for parents to understand the purpose of the organization and the type of services we have to offer and what, we can do for them and how they can support the community of the deaf generally. So it's a network for parents of deaf and hard of hearing children and deaf parents.
Thank you, Ms. Paul.
Thank you. Well, we never strayed from the mandate. That's the truth. We always try to always be on target because what we are about, we are building bridges between the deaf and the hearing and making sure that both are able to support each other. That is why our NGO supplies sign language interpreters. We also teach the public to sign. We are very excited because this year we want to include even more people. We're talking about getting parents of deaf children to learn to sign. We can talk about that. And then we are about making sure that people see deaf people. Deafness is called the invisible handicap. They're not there, but they are very much there and they have a lot to say. But how do we know what deaf people want to say? We have to learn to sign. And we're having classes next month, starting in June. And we have different locations about the country. And we can be called and contacted and people can come and learn. It's really important. Here in Trinidad and Tobago, we are a carnival culture. Yeah. Plenty noise. People lose their hearing. Mm-hmm. I think that we are higher in terms of statistics than the 5 to 10% that who says, is any part of the population. And it's a lot of people and we tend not to see them. In the workplace, we need to have deaf people be given the opportunities more so that they're able to thrive like everyone else. Yes.
And this is a conversation that we will continue when we return from the break. We are speaking with Nicole Paul and Qushiba Le Fleur about ways that we can support the deaf community. Stay with us. We'll return after this. Welcome back. We are having a discussion about the deaf community in Trinidad and Tobago, ways that we can build capacity, ways that we can support. We're doing so with Executive Officer of the Caribbean Sign Language Center, Nicole Paul, as well as CEO of WeCare Deaf Support Network, Qushiba Le Fleur. And Ms. Le Fleur is interesting because the WHO says the statistics are about 5 to 10%, although it may be higher than that. But I want you to tell me about that feeling when it's almost as though a light switch goes off, when you have parents and guardians realize that there is something that can be done. There is a way that they can connect with their loved ones.
From experience, so I think one of the things Nicole missed in community of the deaf is parents of deaf children. So I think when I found out my son was deaf, I wanted to know how to fix it. That was the first thing. How can I fix his hearing? Because I wanted him to be normal. And that's the quote-unquote normal we talk of. And it took me a long time to decide, or he told me, you needed to learn to sign. And in learning to sign, what the thought was for me, I wanted to be that person to teach my child. I wanted to be that person he come to when he has challenges or he has life complications. I want my son, I want to be the one to, share values and morals with him. And when he told me I needed to learn to sign, because I thought he was understanding me fairly well, like, you need to learn to sign, and I did decided I never sat in a sign language class. I'm being very honest, I did. I used to work with Nicole in Caribbean Sign Language Center, and I learned sign language from the deaf community. I sat in classes to manage her classes and set them up, but I really never sat in a sign language class until many, many years after to actually learn to sign. So I was immersed in the deaf community and learned to sign from then. And I felt that pride and joy when a few years ago we were doing this video for our community. And my son said he was happy that his mom could sign because he could talk to me about everything. And then it hit, a lot of young people, do not have that experience in the community of the deaf. So at that time is when I felt like I'm proud. And that with that light bulb you talk of probably went off then. It didn't go off before that. It went off at that time. I think he was 17.
Yeah, but we give thanks for reaching. I remember a priest saying where horse could reach, donkey could reach too. But and not calling a donkey, Thomas Le Fleur. But talk to me a little bit about the importance of being able to learn from people who use sign language as a first language, as opposed to learning sign language as a second language. There's that, and well, I'll ask that first, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dike. I mean, that's a really important question, all right? I personally learned sign language also from a person who's deaf. That was my neighbor, and he's the real reason why I'm a teacher of deaf children today and why I started the NGO Caribbean Sign Language Center, right? Because you would find that communication, there is something special. Okay, if you wanted to learn Spanish, right, you want to speak Spanish, you would go where? You would learn from a native speaker. So here at our NGO, we make sure that 80% of our teachers are in fact deaf people. There are two reasons for that. One, deaf people often don't get employment. And secondly, you will learn things that you would not know from people who are hearing when you learn it from a deaf person, because it's their language and you have to give them full respect, right? And they teach. And our tutors are trained, and besides that, they're naturally nice people. And they communicate, and I know some people feel, how am I going to learn from a deaf person? I don't know enough sign language, blah, 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 etc. But it really works really well. We go with our deaf person the first time. Make sure that you are comfortable. Introduce our deaf teacher. Make sure that you understand they can write. The first thing you learn is what, you think?
Your name.
The alphabet.
Okay.
Then you can spell your name. And so anything that you can't sign, you can spell. So it is really, I want to encourage Trinidad and Tobago, learn to sign from deaf people. It is not difficult as you think. And we are always there to add any extra layer of support. And you have fun. Don't miss that. It's important to have fun.
So do we get some more fun and increase inclusivity? Ms. Le Fleur, what are some of those things that you would like to see happen? What are some of the things that the network is working towards?
So we do a lot of things as a network. Fun, we're now doing a fun event. For the first time ever, we're going to do this bingo. It's something that I've never done before. I never even thought of. A friend recommended it as a fundraiser for us. And it's like, yeah, because we need to raise funds. Nicole has a team going to Tobago, and we're trying to raise funds to help support some of the kids. And we also want to start back a reading program that we started when I used to work at the Association for the Hearing Impaired. It's extremely important for deaf persons to learn to read. And there's a particular way, just as you asked with the sign language, the difference in learning from somebody who's born deaf compared to us. There's a culture difference, but also there's a conceptualization that happens, conceptualizing language differently. And deaf people born naturally, that's their first language. But we enforce or force our standard English on them. And it's something that we have to understand and teach them how to read well. So the program is also to help with that. So we wanted to raise funds to do that. So in September, when we launch, we actually have some projects to present to parents. And we're going to do a bingo, and I think that'll be real fun because it's my first time. I wanted to buy some cards and then somebody play for me, but I can't do that. This is a conflict. So that's one of the fun events. Some of the activities we do as well, they're not fun, but they're events that help the community grow. So we do women program and men program as well to help our deaf parents, both male and female, develop themselves. And those things are not things we charge for. It's like we work with a counselor and he's very open. So he do a lot of these planning and putting things together for us. And we try to help our young deaf women and our mature deaf women to understand themselves, value themselves more, and become better parents. And we do the same with the guys as well. But there are a number of things that we do as an organization. You don't have enough time to talk about all of that.
But we have about 2 minutes. And Ms. Le Fleur, do you find it's almost as though your brain's splitting sometimes? And I say that because having spent a little time elsewhere, sometimes I want to say Sapodilla, but the only thing that comes into my head is Naceberry. Sometimes I want to say Pomsite, the only thing that comes into my mind is June Plum or Golden Apple. But as opposed to reaching for that word. So do you find that sometimes when signing, I want to ask Ms. Paul, because Ms. Paul...
No. The thing is with me, I got used to signing, and because I learned from deaf people, I had to learn what, like when you're interpreting their words you use and their classifiers and other little things you use in sign language. I had to learn those things in classrooms because deaf people don't teach you those things. So I naturally just sign when I'm talking to it. It became a natural thing. It's something that became normal to me. So it's not, I like quietness too. So the deaf world is a world that I think I embrace very easily because my quietness is my solitude. So in me not having to talk, even though I can talk a lot sometimes, but we could sign and then sometimes I don't have to do any of that at all and we have an understand, I'm good. So it's not like my brain don't really split. It's split when we try to get persons to understand, as Nicole was saying, the best persons to learn from are persons who were born deaf, and how can I learn from a deaf person but a deaf, and how would I communicate? And there are a lot of different rationalizing why I shouldn't do this. That splits my brain open. But the fact that I think because I'm in the community for so many years, I probably live deaf way.
That's not a bad thing at all, but we're stealing some time. So Ms. Paula asking you to do it quickly. How do people get information? Because you said there are classes coming up.
That's right. Could you please call 377-3863 if you want to learn to sign, you want to be included and communicate with the deaf. We have sites all over Trinidad and also in Tobago where you can go and learn to sign. Signing is wonderful. Thank you, Dike.
Thank you as well, ladies, Nicole Paul and Qushiba Le Fleur. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, this has been In Depth with me. Thank you so much for joining us.